All right, Maria, you're good to go.
Hi to the first people joining. We'll just wait a couple more minutes to see if more people join before I start. Okay, I think now we can start. It's been a few minutes. I'm just gonna give a short introduction and then start with the talk. Thank you all so much for being here and joining this talk. I'm going to explain today lots of tips that I tried and tested myself when switching jobs to help you land your next UX role. My name is Maria Teresa. I am a senior UX designer from Italy, and I'm also a mentor for aspiring and junior UX designers mostly. So today I would like to cover 4 key topics to help you land your next UX role. First thing is knowing yourself, so defining your professional profile to stand out amongst other candidates. Then how to build your online presence based on the work you did on defining your own professional profile. And then we're going to look into some both short-term activities you can do to increase your chances during your job search, as well as long-term activities. So things you can start doing even now to bring more opportunities. So for the first part, know yourself. It's important that, in my opinion, you are able to answer these 2 main questions. So, who are you as a designer, and what does your ideal job look like? Let's look at that more in detail. Some questions more specifically that you could ask yourself to define your professional profile could be, are you a generalist or a specialist? What do you love doing when it comes to UX? What are the topics that you're passionate about? It can be more than one, of course. What kind of products you want to work on? Is it mobile apps, desktop apps, or virtual reality, for example? It can be anything. Then what is your preferred work style? For example, I'm someone that prefers being an employee, but I know lots of people hate that and prefer to be freelancers instead, for example. And then which kind of companies you want to work for. Would you rather prefer a startup or a small company, big company? So really start thinking about all of these things to figure out how to present yourself then, basically. Because by putting all of this together, you can use what you've gathered to define your LinkedIn role and bio, for example, craft your personal statement, and then put important keywords in your CV and more, as we will see later. And also, of course, this can help you filter potential employers. Basically defining what are your hard no's. Of course, especially in this economy, it's important to be flexible, in my opinion. So remember, you can thrive in multiple environments doing different things. Then we move to our second step, which is building your online presence. So first of all, the thing you can work on is your CV. So I would recommend for your CV to stick it to a maximum of 2 pages. Otherwise, if it's too long, it will be hard for recruiters to skim through. Use a simple style, keep a good visual hierarchy, no crazy things, because again, if we want HR people to skim through it quickly, it needs to be easy to read and to scan. Red flag that I've also stumbled upon when I was younger and that I would absolutely recommend against is progress bars, because for example, one thing that I would see is something like 70% Figma. What does that mean? Do you know how to use the tool or not? So I would recommend just putting, for example, in case of Figma, the tool in your CV, even if you don't feel super proficient on it, as long as you can use it, it's fine. Then you can always improve. Then write down your achievements. So really try and put yourself in a positive light through what you've done in your past work experience. Use metrics when possible. And I recommend running your CV through an ATS checker. If you just Google ATS checkers, there's tons of them for free, to see if there's no issues with your CV being analyzed by these systems. Then, of course, when it comes to online presence, LinkedIn is quite important. I've had many mentees working with me who shared their LinkedIn profile, and in some cases it was unfortunately quite empty. So no proper introduction. The pictures maybe weren't as professional, for example. So what I would recommend is to get a professional photo and the background for the header of your profile. If you have someone who can help you take pictures, do so. Otherwise, you can also use AI nowadays for this. Then use the open to work badge. It's both public or recruiter only, so if you're switching jobs, you can still have recruiters access your profile anyway. Make sure all of your sections are filled and up to date so that your profile looks stronger. What you can also take advantage of is the featured section, which you can add to your profile right under your statement. And there you can include links, which will have a picture. So, for example, if you want to feature your portfolio in general or specific portfolio projects, you can do that easily. And if you have a premium account, you can also add a custom button like see my portfolio or something like that. When it comes to actually being on LinkedIn, engaging with the LinkedIn community, so I'm not a LinkedIn influencer, but what I can tell you is that even the small things can help. So, for example, commenting other people's posts, or once you attended an event like Value X, for example, just talk about it in a post, share pictures. You can talk about a recent project you worked on, so share some real UX work, share your knowledge. I also saw many nice posts on commenting the bad UX of a product and how to fix it. For example, I also did it myself. There was an article talking about Vinted and how it's being used actually for harassment. It's though it's vintage sale app, so that was helpful in getting some likes and contacts. For example, in my case, but it could be really anything as long as you put a nice argument in the post. So I've seen, for example, here's there some nice posts before and after of a product page of an e-commerce, or there's a post where maybe you're explaining more things in detail, like Emily Anderson does. While the posts that I think are not that great are the ones where you're comparing two UIs, because they're often either poor or maybe they don't show that much like high level UX knowledge, so I would just steer clear of them entirely. And then, of course, after CV and LinkedIn, there's your portfolio. And here I feel like it's really important nowadays with higher competition to try and use it to really stand out. So as you see, for example, in this picture here, when it comes to making a first impression, if your website is a plain white website with black text, your website will unfortunately just be one in a sea of many. So even if you just change the background, play a little bit with the fonts, it will already be a big improvement. I would also be careful in your personal statement when it comes to really overused words like simple, user-centered, user-friendly. Also craft now is quite popular, so be careful of using it right away. Then other things I've seen over and over are avatars made with the Apple emojis, or like lots of emojis in general. And if you're using a tool like UXfolio to build your portfolio, I would recommend trying to change the template as much as possible so that your website again doesn't look like many others who are using that same software. Here's a couple of nice examples for the personal statement. So here you can see how the work of defining your own personal professional profile can translate into a statement for your portfolio. So the first designer, for example, talks about making exceptional design. So he's not using user-friendly or craft, the other saturated words we've seen before. He talks about both startups and global brands. So he's specifying with whom he can work with. Here, the second designer is talking about startups, cryptocurrencies, and music. So he's sharing all of these passions and where he can contribute effectively. Then when it comes to the content of your portfolio, the case studies, here I would recommend against these red flags that I've seen many times with my mentees. So first of all, it's important to have a summary because you have to remember that hiring managers get lots of applications, and so they will skim through most of your website and your case studies. So having a summary right there at the beginning really helps understand the project and the context. Then when it comes to context, it's also very important to have a good storytelling. So don't just jump there showing your solution. Give the proper context so that someone who doesn't know anything about your project can still understand it and understand the value you bring. Then, since again here people are just looking through quickly and skimming, it's important to have good visuals. And another thing I would recommend if you're building your first UX portfolio is to avoid unrealistic projects or really like ones that have been done over and over, like for example pet apps or recipe apps. So things that are not really bringing value, or for example unsolicited Spotify redesigns that has been done over and over. So if you can find something niche, local, for example, and real, or at least realistic, it can be more helpful in having you stand out against the competition. Now let's look into short-term strategies. So what you can do when you're already looking for jobs, applying for jobs. So this is how the process usually works, and I'll talk about what you can do in the different steps. So first of all, of course, you apply and your CV gets reviewed. If you pass this first screen, you will get a call from HR. After that, if you pass this first step with them, then there's the technical interview. And now it's quite common nowadays, after the technical interview, to be given a design challenge to complete in a specific amount of time. Once that is done, if you pass this step, because they don't always have you present, unfortunately, the work you've done is to present the result of the challenge. And then if that goes well, you usually get a job proposal. So let's talk about the first step, which is the CV review. And here, to pass this very first step, your main goal, like Jared Spool says in one of his talks, I recommend following him, is to get in the yes pile. Because what happens is that recruiters either put a candidate's CV in the no pile, in the maybe pile if there's some interesting elements, or in the yes pile directly if their profile matches what they're looking for. So you want here as a main goal to be seen as suitable right from the first glance. And how do you do that? So here, in my opinion, the solution is to try and get organized as much as possible. So once you find a job posting on LinkedIn or any other site, see, of course, at the beginning if it aligns with what you're looking for. Once you found one that you like, you just take back your CV, and usually you're also asked to create a motivational letter. So take them both, look at the keywords in the job posting, and see where in your sentences in the CV and motivation letter you can match the keywords, or maybe rework how you've written about your experiences so that they match with what they're asking. So, for example, if they mention Agile in my CV, I would add that I took a course on Agile UX, that I work with developers using Scrum, etc. So really try and do this match one by one of all of the elements. Then send your application and save it. I personally use Notion. There's a nice free job tracker template that you can find in their community. So what I would do is add the link to the job posting, also a copy of the text, because sometimes maybe when you're still in the run for the role, they remove the job posting from LinkedIn or the other platforms, and so it's harder to remember what they're looking for. So just write all of that down there. Also write the motivation letter you send them, maybe attach the CV so that you always know what they're looking for and what you offer them, and then you can keep track of all of your applications in one place. Other pro tips here, I've read that for LinkedIn it's important, since they get lots of applications, to send yours as soon as a job posting gets published. You can achieve that by using a filter, so you can see the job postings of the last 24 hours. If you have several portfolio projects, before sending your portfolio, you could, for example, consider maybe tailoring it to that specific employer. So you send a specific link only with the projects that would interest this employer. And then if there's another employer with another profile they're looking for, you can tweak it. Then if you're doing your portfolio as a website, add analytics, absolutely. See if people are actually looking into your case studies, or if instead they focus only on the homepage and then leave. So you can also see from an objective point of view how your portfolio is being received. You can also use AI here in this process, but use it wisely. So, for example, I used it in the past to, for example, have ChatGPT analyze the job posting, find out what were the key aspects they were looking for the role, and then I would feed it my CV and ask what I could match, for example, to speed up the process. If you're having AI write something like your motivational letter, please human proof it, because otherwise it's really easy to tell that it's done with AI many times. And I would recommend, if you've sent several CVs, several applications, and you haven't heard anything back, invest in a CV plus portfolio review, or maybe consider going beyond traditional tech companies. For example, it was some time ago, but when I first started in UX, I actually didn't apply for a specific UX role. I just sent a spontaneous application to a local tech company, and I was the first designer there, but I was accepted because they thought my profile was interesting. So I recommend trying to look outside of the usual pool of design agencies and companies out there. Then, let's say you nailed the application and got the interview. Here, it's also really useful, also for your nerves, to prep. So I actually did this the other day with a mentee, and she thanked me for helping prep her because she said she was a lot less nervous during the interview. And what you can do yourself to prep is, first of all, look into common questions. This is both for the screening interview with HR and for the technical interview. For example, some questions that in the past really made me nervous and that I sort of failed, you could say, were the questions like, what are your weaknesses? Or some questions that HR asks is, how would your friends describe you, stuff like that. Or when it comes to the technical interview, for example, tell me about a product with bad UX, why is it bad? So be ready to have some potential answers, sorry, to these questions. If you're really nervous with speaking, maybe try and practice in front of a mirror. Otherwise, even just reading the questions and writing down the answers can be quite helpful. Then what you can also do nowadays, thanks to AI, is just feed again the job posting to something like ChatGPT or Claude, and ask it to come up with questions that are related to this specific role. So you can also prep more specifically this way. And then another very important thing, research the company thoroughly. Try and learn as much as possible as you can through what they share online, and always bring, here also AI can help, of course, if you can come up with anything, 3 to 4 questions about the company in general, the product, and the position, so that they can see that you're really interested in the role, even in this sort of indirect way. Some other tips when you're interviewing, of course, try and keep a positive attitude to come across as someone who's more pleasurable to work with. Don't downplay your knowledge, your skills. Of course, don't be arrogant, but really try and sell yourself in the best way. Dress smart, that also helps for a first impression. And of course, don't be rude. Don't talk badly about your previous employer, even though you really want to, because that can be seen as quite of a red flag. And another thing I read is that lots of people are now using AI tools also for non-technical interviews, and the recruiters can tell that you're reading, so don't do that. Also, some things I've seen before is people like texting on WhatsApp, doing other stuff during their interview, so just really put all of your focus into the interview. Then another step that you could run into when you're doing your job search is the design challenge. So you pass the technical interview, and now they ask you to create a solution for an imaginary problem. Really important, and this is just a fake problem, because if they're asking you to redesign a part of their software, then this is free labor and it's a huge red flag. So don't work with them. If instead it's an imaginary problem, what I recommend is really reading the challenge word by word. Write down any notes, any assumptions you have, even before going on with ideas. So really write down what you think they're looking for in terms of the solution. then try and follow the design thinking method as much as possible. So don't jump straight to creating solutions. Really try and reason as much as possible before. And then what I would recommend that helped me secure my last job was to arrive at the design challenge with a presentation. So I basically went there with slides where I was explaining my solution with a little bit of context before and why my solution was effective, and that really impressed the recruiters. You can also do that actually in the technical interview when you're explaining your portfolio, if they ask you to talk about past projects. So in general, coming prepared for these things with a good narrative prepared through slides, for example, can really help. If you have been rejected, it's very hard, I know by first-hand experience, but don't give up. Remember that it's often not you, it's the company. So really just take it as a moment to pause and recharge. If you can, ask for feedback. Maybe again go back to mentoring, maybe prepping for interviews with a mentor or a senior designer in general, and then keep going. Now, a few words about long-term strategies, so things you can do anytime in your career that can help you with opportunities. There's a nice concept here I saw in an Ali Abdal YouTube video, which is called the third door. So if you look at the metaphor of the disco, of the club, there's a huge line of people getting in through the main door, then there's the VIP door, but there's also the back door through which some people are able to sneak in and get into the club and dance. And this is a metaphor we can use to try and find UX jobs in a different way. Let's see how. So these are some things that worked for me in the past. Maybe they can work for you too, and I'm sure there's many more. So one thing is participating in challenges and hackathons. So if you're putting yourself out there, showing your work, and then there's companies funding these events, they could become interested in you and offer you a position, or at least call you for an interview. If you're volunteering, it could be at conferences, local meetups, etc. You're able to talk with the speakers, the organizers, the sponsors, and maybe again find some opportunities there too. And it really helps if you're either a volunteer or a speaker at these events, because everyone will know you or at least interact with you, while if you're just a regular participant in these in-person events, it's often harder, at least if you're an introvert like me, to strike up conversation with strangers. Then there's also lots of online communities. For example, once I was, when I was younger, I was interacting a lot with our local Figma community. And one of the people working in this community at some point approached me for a job position because they were looking for a new designer. So I was one of the people who already got past straight to the technical interview almost. So that's also helpful. And then I would recommend also not just stopping at communities that are purely for designers, go beyond into tech, startups, etc. So you may have to explain your role, but the right people will be interested and they could contact you when they need a designer. Then I would always recommend in general, since our jobs are changing so frequently, to stay in the loop without burning out, of course. So you can, for example, take online courses on, for example, hot topics nowadays like AI, of course. Then again, attend events and conferences, even though even if you're online or even if you're not volunteer, etc. So in general, just try and learn new things and keep experimenting. For example, I have been experimenting a lot with vibe coding, and I think it's useful now that the landscape is changing so much to keep up with these things. So this is the end of my talk. I have put all of the slides and some extra resources at this link. So if you go on mentorcruise.com and look for my profile, you can see it in the first link. I will now answer some questions if you have any. Otherwise, I will stay for a little while in Gather Town before after the talk. Thank you. Oh, I see a first question already. How do you see localization of resumes? I recently learned expectations of resume content widely differ based on the country. Really interesting question. For example, I live in Italy, right? And I talked with my mentor in the past. She works in a tech company, and when she reviewed my CV, she told me that I absolutely had to put my picture in the resume because when they're doing interviews, they print out the resumes and they need to quickly see um, whose resume is it, and the picture helps. While in other countries, I know that is considered as really negative because you don't want bias or anything. So these things change widely by country, and in that case, I think it would be useful to reach out to HR people from the country you're interested in, or at least people who have applied for jobs in that country, so that you know what works best and what doesn't. Then, can you give an example of generalist or specialist? Is there a rule of thumb you know works best? So, yeah, when it comes to this question, so um, usually, if you're considered a generalist, this means that you're able to carry out multiple tasks simultaneously.
We seem to be having technical issues with Maria at the moment. We'll just give her a couple of seconds to see if her connection comes back. And then if not, then we can stop the talk. Just, just wait a couple of seconds. Okay, I think we've actually lost Maria. We apologize about this. It was actually not planned. But Maria mentioned that she will be around the conference. She will be walking around. So please do go up to her and talk to her if you weren't able to answer the questions at the moment. And then, yeah, she will do her best to answer them. So enjoy the rest of your day. And we hope you got some great value out of that talk. Thank you.